back to the next episode of Can Revv Do, where I take my trusty Revv Generator 100R amplifier and see if I can't get it to come sort of in the ballpark of some classic tones and some favorite tones of mine, and I hope of yours also. Today, I am taking a look at what probably is one of my favorite players and tones, and that is the incredible Robben Ford. Now, the standard disclaimer is, Robben's had various tones throughout the years, and so much of those tones come from not only his hands, but his brain and his note choice, and just from Robben himself. So anybody else playing even his rig is not going to sound exactly like Robben, but I wanted to get something sort of in that ballpark with that vibe. One of my favorite songs of his is a song called Rugged Road, and one of my favorite solos of his is on that particular song. And you heard a little snippet of it at the intro of this video. I will play you the entire performance of that solo later in this video using the tone we're going to create today, using the Revv Generator 100R in conjunction with the built-in 2Notes Torpedo with a really cool DynIR from the fine folks at 2Notes. It's really killer. I love this DynIR. Big thank you to the folks at 2Notes for sending it over for me to try out. Always very much appreciated. So without further ado, let's dive in, take a look at how we can build this tone, and then we'll take a look at how it works in the mix for my performance. That's, like I said, you've already heard a little snippet of, and we'll go from there. And if you guys like these settings or this DynIR, you can grab a copy of this and set your Revv up in the same fashion and tweak it to your liking. Depending on the guitar you have, how hot your pickups are, you might have to change things around slightly, but I hope this acts as a really good starting point. So first of all, over to the amp, you'll notice I'm using channel 2 or the green channel on its most aggressive drive setting. Now, I do find that when playing this tone outside of the mix, it might sound a little gain heavy. I originally started off with it on the lowest aggression setting, and then as I was mixing, I reamped it to kind of bump that up because I found it just kind of sat and cut in the mix a little bit better. But it's real simple. I mean, if you find that it is too aggressive, especially with whatever pickups you're using, just lower the aggression setting or even dial the gain back. But you will see the settings here. I have channel 2 on the highest aggression setting. Bright switch is turned off. Gain is cranked to the max. Level is set just appropriately for what I needed coming out of it around 3 o'clock. Treble is around 1 o'clock. Mids are basically maxed, and bass is around noon. Coming over to the master section, I'm using master 1. It's up around 9 o'clock. Presence is around 10 o'clock, and depth is up around maybe between 1 and 2 o'clock, around 1:30-ish. All right, so coming over to the 2Notes Torpedo remote software, here is what I used. Starting with the DynIR, I'm using the incredible Sir Hedgehog 212, G12 65. I don't even know if that will be on the screen when you see it here. I think I need to move this over for you to see the full name here, but it's the Sir Hedgehog 212 G12 65. I had an inkling that this one might work really nicely for it, and when I tried it, it really did. So the settings I'm using 2 mics on this. Both mics are very close to being even. You'll notice mic A I have at 0 dB and mic B I have minus 1 dB. But what are those mics? Well, I'm using the Ribbon 4038, which is a model of the Coles 4038 Ribbon microphone, and then I'm using the condenser FET 47 for mic B. The thing about the Ribbon mic is I have it off axis slightly at 15% setting and pulled way back 68% on the distance. As far as the condenser mic goes, though, I have it both on axis and right up against the grill. So we'll take a listen to how each of those sound independently and then mix together. No twin tracker for this one, but I am using reverb, a lot of it. This is a pretty wet sound. It doesn't sound so, but when you get in the mix, if you take that reverb away and dry it out, it doesn't sit the same way as Robben's, and you can hear how there is a fair amount of reverb. Now, whether I chose the right reverb, that'll be open to debate, but I went with the Hall A on the ambient setting, set at 50%, size at 43%, echo at 27%, color at 88%, and width at 50%. So that's what that is. We're going to turn that off for now because we want to sort of let you hear how this tone was built from just the microphones and adding everything else in. I did make use of both the enhancer and the EQ in here. The enhancer has a dry wet setting of 42%, set to guitar, body at 0%, thickness at 63%, and brilliance at 0%. That thickness I found was a really important part to just blend into this. We'll turn that off. And then the EQ I set with the 120 hertz setting at -8 dB to really control the low end and tighten it up. Getting rid of a little bit of mud with the 360 hertz control down -3 dB. Boosting 6 dB at 800 to add a little more of that nice thickness. And then the 2K and 6K were both at 0, and we'll turn that off as well. So if I just come over here and mute the condenser microphone, here is the tone with those amp settings I showed you. And I'm playing my Vigier GV Wood semi-hollow body with amber pickups. And so that's what this sounds like on the bridge pickup with just the ribbon mic. As is expected, quite dark. If I was to take this distance control and set it to 0, let's remember the 68% setting. Gets very big and thick and fat. I actually like that about it, but I wanted it more controlled in this sort of manner. Bottom end becomes a lot better. Now, that's going to sound very different when we combine it with the FET 47. Let's just listen to what the FET 47 is doing. Let's mix both of those together blended. Nice, very dry and not quite there yet. Let's bring the EQ in now. So here it is without the EQ. You'll notice that that bottom end really gets cleaned up. In a much more usable way in the mix. All right, then we bring in this thickness with the enhancer, again without it. And we're missing a big piece of the puzzle here with the reverb. We're going to bring that in, which is the Hall A on the ambient setting. And that was the finished sound. Now, on its own, you might say, well, I don't know, maybe it doesn't really work. But in the mix, as I reamped through this and tweaked it, I found that this sat really nice and came nicely in the ballpark to what Robben had going on this tune. And I think depending on the guitar you use and your monitoring system and whatnot, a few tweaks and mostly everybody could get this maybe even closer to their liking. All right, so how does this sound in the mix? Well, let's take a listen. Like I said, you heard a little snippet at the intro of this video. of me performing the Solo to Rugged Road over a really cool backing track I was able to find online. And I think it's worked really nicely, sat in the mix. All of a sudden, you don't notice that massive reverb and maybe the fact that it's a little more saturated than we might think. But again, it depends a lot on personal preference and how we play as well. So give this a listen. I hope you enjoy it. So what did you guys think? I thought it kind of worked nicely. I was pretty happy with the way that that sounded. So if you like that, grab your Revv amp, set it up in the way I have it. Grab a copy of the Sir Hedgehog 212 cab with the G1265 speakers, killer DynIR. And that can be used for so many different great tones, very flexible, lots of different mic choices. And as always, with the DynIRs, the ability to move the microphones around on and off axis and distance. It's just an absolute pleasure to work with to dial some tones in. I really hope you guys enjoyed that. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please like the video, share it with anybody who you think would get some use or enjoyment out of watching it. And also please subscribe to my channel, hit the little bell notification to get notified when I put new content out. I'll be back really soon with some more. Thank you guys again so much for sharing your time with me. Ciao for now.